I stared at the thick envelope in my hands, my heart pounding. The return address bore the name of Max's lawyer, a man I'd hoped never to hear from again. With trembling fingers, I tore it open, praying it wasn't what I feared. It was worse. Divorce papers, I whispered, the words barely audible in the sudden silence of our once bustling kitchen. The house Max and I had shared for 15 years suddenly felt alien, as if the very walls were closing in on me. I skimmed the legal jargon, my eyes catching on phrases that made my blood run cold. Division of assets, sale of property. And then, like a slap to the face, transfer of ownership of 1478 Maple Street to Ryan Thompson. Ryan, Max's younger brother, the perpetual freeloader who'd been crashing on our couch for the past 6 months, eating our food and drinking our beer without so much as a thank you. The phone rang, startling me out of my shock. I answered without thinking. Nora. It was Lucy, my neighbor and closest friend. At 60, she'd seen her fair share of life's ups and downs. I saw the courier leave. Are you okay? I couldn't find the words to respond. How could I tell her that my husband of 17 years was not only divorcing me, but giving away our home to his deadbeat brother? Nora. Lucy's voice sharpened with concern. I'm coming over. Before I could protest, she'd hung up. Moments later, I heard her key in the lock, the spare I'd given her years ago for emergencies. This certainly qualified. Lucy bustled in, all 5'2" of her radiating concern. Oh, honey, she said, taking in my shell-shocked expression. What's happened? I wordlessly handed her the papers. As she read, her face darkened like storm clouds gathering. That no-good son of a... She caught herself, but I could see the fury in her eyes. He can't do this, Nora. This is your home, too. Apparently he can, I said, my voice hollow. It's all there in black and white. Lucy's jaw set in a determined line. We'll see about that. Have you called a lawyer? I shook my head, still reeling. I haven't done anything. I just opened it. Well, that's our first step, Lucy declared, pulling out her cell phone. My niece Jessica is a divorce attorney. She'll know what to do. As Lucy dialed, a car pulled into the driveway. My stomach dropped as I recognized the sleek black BMW. Max. He's here, I whispered, panic rising in my chest. Lucy's eyes narrowed. Good. Let him come. It's time you stood up to that bully. The front door opened, and Max strode in like he owned the place. Which I supposed he thought he did. Nora, he said, his tone cold and businesslike. I see you got the papers. I found my voice, anger finally breaking through the shock. How could you, Max? Giving our house to Ryan? After everything we've built here? He had the audacity to look annoyed. It's not our house anymore, Nora. And Ryan needs a fresh start. You'll be fine. You can stay with your sister or something. Lucy stepped forward, her small frame vibrating with rage. Now you listen here, you arrogant. I held up a hand, silencing her. For the first time in years, I felt a spark of something long dormant, defiance. No, Max, I said, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands. I won't be fine, and I'm not going anywhere. This is my home, and I'll fight you every step of the way if I have to. Max's eyes widened, clearly not expecting resistance. Don't be difficult, Nora. It's over. Just sign the papers and... Get out, I interrupted, surprising even myself with the steel in my voice. Now, before I call the police and have you removed for trespassing. For a moment, Max looked like he might argue, but something in my expression must have warned him off. Without another word, he turned and left, slamming the door behind him. As the echo faded, I sank into a kitchen chair, suddenly exhausted. Lucy put a comforting hand on my shoulder. I'm proud of you, honey, she said softly. And don't you worry. We'll figure this out together. I nodded, a plan already forming in my mind. Max might think he'd won, but he had no idea what I was capable of. This was just the beginning. The next morning, I woke to the sound of Max rummaging through our bedroom closet. For a moment, I forgot about yesterday's bombshell, But reality crashed back as I saw him stuffing clothes into a suitcase. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice still rough with sleep. Max barely glanced at me. "Packing. I'm staying at Ryan's for a while." I sat up, anger flaring. "Oh, so you're kicking me out of my house and moving your brother in?" He sighed, exasperated. "It's not like that, Nora. Ryan needs a fresh start, and this place is too big for just you anyway." "Just me?" I echoed, incredulous. "Max, we've been married for 17 years. This is our home." He zipped up his suitcase with unnecessary force. "Was our home. Things change, Nora. People change." I got out of bed, squaring my shoulders. "When did you change, Max? When did you become this stranger who doesn't care about anyone but himself?" His eyes flashed. "That's rich coming from you. You checked out of this marriage years ago. What are you talking about?" "Oh, come on," he scoffed. "When was the last time you showed any interest in my work? In me? You've been sleepwalking through our life together. I felt like I'd been slapped. That's not fair. I've always supported you." "Supported me?" Max laughed bitterly. "Is that what you call quitting your job to become a housewife? Leaving me to shoulder all the financial burden? You asked me to quit." I shouted, memories flooding back. "You said you wanted a wife, not a colleague. That it would be better for your career if I stayed home." Max waved dismissively. "Ancient history. The point is, this isn't working anymore. Hasn't been for a long time." I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm of emotions inside me. "If that's how you felt, why didn't you say something? We could have worked on it, gone to counseling." "It's too late for that," Max interrupted. "I've made my decision. The papers are signed. It's over." As he brushed past me, a memory surfaced. Our first date at the company Christmas party. Max had been so charming, so attentive. When had that man disappeared? "Wait," I said, grabbing his arm. "What about our history? Doesn't that mean anything to you?" For a moment, I saw a flicker of the old Max in his eyes. But it vanished as quickly as it appeared. "History doesn't pay the bills, Nora," he said coldly. "Or keep a man satisfied." The implication hit me like a punch to the gut. Is there someone else?" Max's silence was answer enough. I stumbled backward, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under me. "How long?" I whispered. He shrugged, not meeting my eyes. "A while. It doesn't matter." "It matters to me," I shouted, tears burning in my eyes. "Who is she? Do I know her?" Max hefted his suitcase. "I'm not doing this, Nora. It's over. Move on." As he headed for the door, rage overtook my hurt. I grabbed the nearest object, a framed photo of us on our honeymoon, and hurled it at him. It missed, shattering against the wall. Max whirled around, eyes wide. "Have you lost your mind? Get out!" I screamed, grabbing another frame. "Get out of my house." He didn't need to be told twice. I heard his footsteps pounding down the stairs, then the slam of the front door. Silence fell, broken only by my ragged breathing. I sank to the floor, surrounded by the wreckage of our life together. The sound of a key in the lock startled me. Had Max come back? But it was Lucy who appeared in the doorway, concern etched on her face. "Oh, honey," she said, taking in the scene. "What happened?" I looked up at her, a strange calm settling over me. "I just found out my husband's been cheating on me," I said, "and I think I'm going to destroy him." The next few days passed in a blur of anger and determination. I'd spent hours on the phone with Lucy's niece, Jessica, discussing my legal options. The more I learned, the more my resolve strengthened. Max wasn't going to get away with this. I was sorting through financial documents when the doorbell rang. My heart skipped a beat, thinking it might be Max, but when I opened the door, I found myself face to face with Ryan and his wife, Sophie. "Nora," Ryan said, shifting uncomfortably. "Can we talk?" I hesitated, then stepped aside to let them in. Sophie offered a sympathetic smile as they passed. In the living room, an awkward silence fell. Ryan cleared his throat. "Look, Nora, I know this is a difficult time for you." "Difficult?" I interrupted, my voice sharp. Your brother is trying to divorce me and give you our house. Difficult doesn't begin to cover it. Sophie placed a hand on Ryan's arm. We didn't know, Nora. Max told us you'd agreed to sell the house. I laughed bitterly. Of course he did. And let me guess, he said I was fine with moving out, too. Ryan had the decency to look ashamed. We should have talked to you directly. I'm sorry. We don't want the house, Sophie added quickly. Not like this. I studied them, seeing the sincerity in their eyes. It was almost a relief to direct my anger at someone other than Max. Then why are you here? Ryan took a deep breath. We want to help. Max. He's not being himself lately. We're worried about him and about you. Worried about me? I scoffed. I'm not the one throwing away a 17-year marriage and trying to make my wife homeless. Sophie leaned forward. Nora, has Max been different lately? Before all this happened. I paused, thinking back. He's been working late a lot. More irritable. I thought it was just stress from his job, but I trailed off, remembering his admission of an affair. Ryan and Sophie exchanged a look. We think there might be more going on, Ryan said carefully. Max's behavior, it's not just affecting you. He's been making risky decisions at work, too. This was news to me. What kind of decisions? I probably shouldn't say. Ryan hedged, but Sophie cut in. He's been gambling with company money, she blurted out. Big risks, big losses. Ryan overheard him on the phone with someone trying to cover it up. The room seemed to tilt. Are you saying Max is embezzling? Ryan nodded grimly. We think so. And we're afraid he's going to drag you down with him when it all comes out. My mind raced. Suddenly, Max's insistence on a quick divorce made sense. He wasn't just leaving me. He was trying to protect his assets before everything fell apart. I need to call my lawyer, I said, standing abruptly. As I reached for my phone, another ring at the doorbell startled us all. Through the window, I saw two men in suits standing on the porch looking official. Mrs. Thompson? One called out. We're from the FBI. We need to ask you some questions about your husband's financial activities. I turned back to Ryan and Sophie, seeing my own shock mirrored in their faces. This was it. The moment everything changed. Taking a deep breath, I squared my shoulders and moved to open the door. Whatever was coming, I would face it head-on. Max might have thought he could leave me with nothing, but he'd underestimated me. As I greeted the agents, a strange calm settled over me. This wasn't just about saving my home anymore. It was about justice, and I was ready to fight. After the FBI agents left, I felt like I was drowning in a sea of questions and uncertainties. My world had been turned upside down in a matter of days, and I desperately needed a lifeline. That's when I remembered Lucy's standing invitation for coffee and sympathy. I found myself on her porch, my hand hesitating over the doorbell. Before I could press it, the door swung open, and Lucy stood there, concern etched on her face. I saw you pull up, she said, ushering me inside. You look like you've been through the ringer, honey. I collapsed onto her floral couch, the familiar scent of cinnamon and vanilla wrapping around me like a comforting blanket. Lucy, everything's falling apart, I said, my voice cracking. She settled beside me, patting my hand. Start from the beginning. So I did. I told her about Max's affair, the divorce papers, and now the FBI investigation. Lucy listened without interrupting, her expression growing stormier with each revelation. When I finished, she stood up abruptly. That no-good lying snake, she muttered, pacing the room. Nora, you can't let him get away with this. I don't know what to do, I admitted. I feel so lost. Lucy stopped pacing and fixed me with a steely gaze. You fight, that's what you do. You've spent years supporting that man, putting your own dreams on hold. It's time to take back your life. Her words ignited a spark of determination in my chest. But how? Max has always handled our finances. I don't even know where to start. Then we'll figure it out together, Lucy declared. She disappeared into her study, returning with a laptop and a stack of legal pads. First things first, We need to protect your assets. Did you sign those divorce papers? I shook my head. No, I was too shocked at first, and then with the FBI showing up. Good. Lucy nodded approvingly. Don't sign anything until you've talked to a lawyer. In fact, she picked up her phone and dialed a number. Jessica? It's Aunt Lucy. I've got a friend here who needs your help urgently. As Lucy arranged an emergency meeting with her niece, I felt a weight lifting from my shoulders. For the first time since this nightmare began, I didn't feel alone. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Jessica arrived, armed with legal knowledge and a take-no-prisoners attitude that reminded me of her aunt. We pored over financial documents, made lists of questions for the FBI, and strategized how to protect my interests in the divorce. Nora, Jessica said, looking up from a pile of bank statements, did you know about this offshore account in your name? I blinked in surprise. What offshore account? Jessica showed me the document. Sure enough, there was an account in the Cayman Islands with my name on it, containing a substantial sum of money. Max must have set this up, I said, my mind racing. But why put it in my name? Lucy and Jessica exchanged knowing looks. To hide it from creditors, Jessica explained, or to frame you if his embezzlement was discovered. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. Max hadn't just been planning to leave me. He'd been setting me up to take the fall for his crimes. What do? I asked, fear and anger warring inside me. Jessica's expression was grim but determined. We fight fire with fire. Max thinks he's clever, but he's left a paper trail. We can use this to negotiate a better settlement and possibly even clear your name with the FBI. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across Lucy's living room, I felt a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. The path ahead was daunting, but for the first time, I could see a way forward. Thank you both, I said, my voice thick with emotion. I don't know what I'd do without you. Lucy squeezed my hand. You're stronger than you know, Nora. It's time to show Max and the world what you're made of. I nodded, a new resolve settling over me. Max had underestimated me for the last time. Tomorrow the real fight would begin. Armed with the knowledge from Lucy and Jessica, I spent the next day preparing for the inevitable confrontation with Max. I pored over old documents, piecing together the history of my grandmother's house. By evening, I felt ready. The sound of Max's key in the lock sent my heart racing. I stood in the living room, steeling myself for what was to come. Nora, Max called out, sounding irritated. We need to talk about the house sale. I took a deep breath. Yes, we do. He strode into the room, all business. Look, I know you're upset, but Ryan needs. The house isn't yours to give away, Max. I interrupted, my voice steady. He blinked, caught off guard. What are you talking about? I held up a stack of papers. This house belonged to my grandmother. She left it to me in her will, years before we were married. It's not part of our marital assets. Max's face flushed red. That's impossible. I would have known. You didn't know because I never told you, I said, feeling a surge of confidence. Grandma always said to keep something for myself, just in case. I guess she was right. You're lying, Max sputtered, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. I laid out the documents on the coffee table. It's all here, Max. The deed, the will, everything. This house is mine and mine alone. He snatched up the papers, scanning them frantically. As the truth sank in, his expression morphed from anger to disbelief. Why didn't you ever say anything? He demanded. Would it have mattered? I shot back. You've been making decisions without me for years. Why start consulting me now? Max slumped onto the couch, looking defeated. So what now? You're just going to kick me out. That was your plan for me, wasn't it? I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. He had the grace to look ashamed. Nora, I didn't mean for things to get so messy. Messy? I laughed incredulously. Max, the FBI is investigating you for embezzlement. You've been having an affair, and you tried to give away my house. Messy doesn't begin to cover it. His head snapped up. How do you know about the investigation? I have my sources, I said, thinking of Ryan and Sophie. Did you really think you could keep me in the dark forever? Max stood abruptly, pacing the room. You don't understand. I had no choice. The company was in trouble, and I had to do something. So you decided to steal? I shook my head in disbelief. What happened to you, Max? When did you become this person? He whirled on me, eyes blazing. When did you become such a sanctimonious bitch? You've been coasting through life, playing housewife while I busted my ass to give us everything. His words stung, but I refused to let him see how much. I gave up my career for you, Max. I supported you in everything. And this is how you repay me. We stood there, glaring at each other, years of resentment and unspoken grievances hanging in the air between us. Finally, Max spoke, his voice low and dangerous. Fine. Keep the house. But don't think this is over, Nora. I won't go down without a fight. As he stormed out, slamming the door behind him, I felt a strange mix of triumph and terror. I'd won this battle, but the war was far from over. I sank onto the couch, my hands shaking as the adrenaline wore off. Max's threat echoed in my mind. What would he do next? How far was he willing to go to protect himself? One thing was clear. I couldn't afford to underestimate him again. As I reached for my phone to call Lucy, I made a decision. It was time to stop playing defense. If Max wanted a fight, I'd give him one he'd never forget. The days following my confrontation with Max were a whirlwind of activity. I threw myself into reclaiming my life, starting with changing the locks on the house. As I watched the locksmith work, I felt a mix of satisfaction and sadness. This was really happening. My marriage was over. Lucy arrived that afternoon, armed with boxes and a determined gleam in her eye. Time to exorcise Max from this house, she declared. We spent hours sorting through closets and drawers, packing up Max's belongings. Each item unearthed a memory, some fond, others painful. By evening, a mountain of boxes stood in the garage, a physical representation of our fractured life together. As we collapsed onto the couch, exhausted, my phone buzzed with a text from Ryan. Need to talk. It's urgent. Can we meet? I showed Lucy the message, my stomach churning with anxiety. What do you think? She frowned. Be careful, honey. Max might be using Ryan to get to you. Despite Lucy's warning, I agreed to meet Ryan at a nearby coffee shop. As I pulled into the parking lot, I spotted him pacing nervously outside. Nora, thank God, he said as I approached. We have a problem. Inside, over steaming cups of coffee, Ryan laid out a tale that made my blood run cold. Max had been busy since our confrontation, and not in a good way. He's trying to pin everything on you, Ryan explained, his voice low. The embezzlement, the offshore accounts, all of it. He's telling anyone who'll listen that you were the mastermind behind it all. I felt the room spin. But that's insane. I didn't even know about any of this until recently. Ryan nodded grimly. I know, but Max is desperate. He's facing serious jail time if he's convicted. He thinks if he can make you look guilty, he'll get off easier. What am I supposed to do? I asked, panic rising in my throat. You need to act fast, Ryan urged. Max is meeting with the company board tomorrow. If he convinces them, they might press charges against you. I left the coffee shop in a daze, my mind racing. How had things spiraled so out of control? I'd gone from housewife to alleged criminal mastermind in a matter of weeks. Back home, I paced the living room trying to formulate a plan. Lucy listened as I recounted my conversation with Ryan, her expression growing darker by the minute. That rat bastard, she muttered. Nora, we need to fight back. Hard. I nodded, a strange calm settling over me. You're right. No more playing defense. It's time to show Max what I'm really capable of. Through the night, Lucy and I worked tirelessly. We combed through financial records, pieced together timelines, and compiled a dossier of Max's misdeeds. By dawn, we had a plan. As the sun rose, casting a golden glow over the neighborhood, I steeled myself for what was to come. In a few hours, I would walk into Max's company and lay out the truth for all to see. It was a risky move. I could be arrested on the spot if things went wrong. Lucy squeezed my hand. "Are you sure about this, honey? There's no going back once you do this." I met her gaze, my resolve firm. "I'm sure. Max took everything from me. My marriage, my trust, my sense of security. I won't let him take my freedom, too." As I gathered my evidence and prepared to leave, a text from Ryan flashed on my phone. "Max just arrived at the office. He looks smug. Whatever you're planning, do it now." This was it, the moment of truth. As I walked out the door, I felt a strange mix of terror and exhilaration. One way or another, by the end of the day, my life would be forever changed. I took a deep breath and headed for my car. It was time to face Max and reclaim my life, once and for all. My heart pounded as I strode into the lobby of Max's office building. The security guard eyed me suspiciously, but I flashed my old employee badge. The one I'd kept as a memento of my working days, and he waved me through. In the elevator, I took deep breaths, steadying my nerves. The folder in my hands felt like it weighed a ton, filled with evidence of Max's financial misdeeds. As the doors opened on the executive floor, I steeled myself for what was to come. Max's voice boomed from the conference room, cocky and assured. "Gentlemen, I assure you, this is all a misunderstanding. My wife." I burst through the door, interrupting his performance. "Your soon-to-be ex-wife is right here, Max. And I think it's time everyone heard the truth." The room fell silent. Max's face drained of color as he realized his carefully constructed lies were about to come crashing down. "Nora," he said, his voice strained, "this is a private meeting. You need to leave." I ignored him, addressing the board members directly. "I apologize for the interruption, but I have information that's crucial to your investigation." The CEO, a stern-faced woman I recognized from company photos, leaned forward. "Mrs. Thompson, this is highly irregular." "I understand," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "But I promise what I have to say is worth hearing." For the next hour, I laid out the evidence Lucy and I had compiled. Bank statements, emails, recorded phone conversations, all pointing to Max's guilt. With each revelation, I watched the board members' expressions shift from skepticism to shock to anger. Max tried to interject, to spin more lies, but his protests grew weaker as the truth became undeniable. When I finished, the room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. The CEO broke the silence. "Mr. Thompson, in light of this information, I think it's best if you leave the premises immediately. Security will escort you out." As two burly guards appeared to lead Max away, he lunged at me, his face contorted with rage. "You bitch! You've ruined everything." I stood my ground, meeting his gaze. "No, Max. You ruined everything yourself. I'm just cleaning up your mess, like I always have." After Max was gone, the CEO turned to me. "Mrs. Thompson, we owe you a debt of gratitude. But I have to ask, why come forward now?" I took a deep breath. Because it was the right thing to do. And because I refused to let Max destroy my life any more than he already has. As I left the building, my phone buzzed with a text from Lucy. "It's done. Divorce papers filed. You're free." A wave of emotion washed over me, relief, exhaustion, and a glimmer of hope for the future. But my journey wasn't over yet. When I got home, I found Ryan and Sophie waiting on my porch. Their faces were grim. "Nora," Ryan said, his voice tight, "Max is gone. He cleared out his bank accounts and disappeared. The police are looking for him, but..." I felt the ground shift beneath my feet. After everything, Max had managed one last act of cowardice. The thought of him out there, potentially plotting revenge, sent a chill down my spine. As the reality of the situation sank in, I realized that my fight for justice and peace was far from over. Max was still out there, a threat looming on the horizon, and I had no idea what he might do next. I looked at Ryan, Sophie, and Lucy, who had just pulled up in her car. They were my support system, my chosen family. Together, we'd face whatever came next. "All right," I said, squaring my shoulders. What's our next move? The battle might be won, but the war wasn't over. And I was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. 6 months passed without a word from Max. I'd almost begun to believe he was gone for good, when the doorbell rang on a quiet Sunday afternoon. I opened the door to find Max standing there, a shadow of his former self. His designer suit was wrinkled, his hair unkempt. The arrogance I'd known for years was replaced by desperation. "Nora," he said, his voice hoarse. "Can we talk?" Against my better judgment, I let him in. We stood in the living room, the space between us charged with unspoken words. "I've lost everything," Max began, his eyes darting around the room. "My job, my reputation, my friends. All because of you." I felt a flare of anger. "Because of me? You did this to yourself, Max." He ran a hand through his hair, agitated. I know. But I've changed. I've had time to think, to realize what really matters. I want to make things right." For a moment, I felt a flicker of the old longing. The Max I'd fallen in love with seemed to be peeking through. But then I remembered all the lies, the betrayal, the years of feeling small and insignificant. "It's too late for that," I said firmly. Max's demeanor shifted, desperation giving way to anger. "Too late? After everything we've been through? You owe me, Nora. I made you who you are." I laughed, the sound sharp and bitter. "You didn't make me, Max. If anything, you almost unmade me. But I found myself again. No thanks to you." He stepped closer, his eyes wild. "You can't just throw away 17 years. I'm sorry, okay? I'll do better. We can start over." I stood my ground, feeling stronger than I ever had in his presence. "No, Max. We can't. What we had is gone, and it's not coming back." "You bitch," he snarled, his mask of contrition falling away. "You think you're so much better than me now? You're nothing without me." As he lunged forward, I reacted instinctively, sidestepping his grasp. Max stumbled, crashing into the coffee table. In that moment, I saw him clearly for the first time. Not as the powerful man I'd feared and admired, but as a broken, desperate person clinging to the past. "Get out," I said, my voice steady. "And don't come back. Ever." Max struggled to his feet, his face a mix of rage and defeat. "This isn't over, Nora. You'll regret this." As he stormed out, slamming the door behind him, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The last ties binding me to my old life had been severed. I sank onto the couch, emotions swirling. Then I noticed something on the floor. A small velvet box that must have fallen from Max's pocket. Inside was my grandmother's ring, the one I'd thought lost years ago. Holding the ring, I was flooded with memories. Not of Max, but of my grandmother. Her strength, her wisdom, her unwavering belief in me. I slipped the ring on, feeling a connection to my past and a renewed sense of purpose for my future. The doorbell rang again. This time it was Lucy, Ryan, and Sophie arriving for our weekly dinner. As I let them in, sharing hugs and laughter, I realized that this was my real family now. Chosen, not imposed. Over dinner, I told them about Max's visit. Their concern was touching, but I assured them I was okay. "I'm proud of you, honey," Lucy said, squeezing my hand. "You've come so far." Ryan raised his glass. "To new beginnings," he toasted. As we clinked glasses, I felt a surge of gratitude and hope. The journey had been hard, but I'd emerged stronger, wiser, and surrounded by love. Later, as I got ready for bed, I caught my reflection in the mirror. The woman looking back at me was different from the one who'd received those divorce papers months ago. She was confident, resilient, and ready for whatever life might bring. I touched my grandmother's ring, a symbol of the strength that had always been within me. "Thank you," I whispered to her and to myself. As I drifted off to sleep, I felt at peace for the first time in years. Tomorrow was a new day, full of possibilities. And I was ready to embrace them all.